Welcome everyone, and thanks for joining this webinar today. As Sean mentioned, my name is Harjeet Judge. I'm part of the product management team based out of the Vancouver, Canada office. Right, so I'll get right into the agenda here. So the topics today are purely focused on Design Studio and its integration with the Business Intelligence platform. So I'll start off with just a few slides on positioning and overview of Design Studio and BIP. And then we'll move into looking into some installation topics, how you actually get Design Studio installed on the BIP platform. And then we'll look into talking about how you would get your Design Studio templates into Business Intelligence or into BI platform. We'll talk about various topics around extensions as well, how you actually get your extensions installed on BIP, how you make your applications available for mobile devices, and also how you enable multilingual support on your analysis application or your Design Studio applications rather. I will try to do a demo after each one of these sections so you can actually see these things firsthand. So I'll do a demo on some of the topics earlier, and after the demo, I'll move on to talk about some administration topics. Here I'll cover bookmarks administration, as well as talk about what it takes to actually get your Design Studio application promoted between different systems that you may have in your environment. I'll do another demo of bookmark administration, and then we'll talk about some configuration and performance topics. Okay, so moving on to the overview. So when you might have seen this slide before, so this is a pretty standard slide that you would see in a lot of different analytical presentations here, but it's a pretty useful slide, and that's why I have it in my deck here. And so when you look at any kind of SAP analytical solution that SAP creates, we usually tend to create those solutions that fall under one of these three categories that you screen here, that you see on the screen. One of them is reporting. The other one is the dashboarding and applications category, and the third one is the agile visualization category. And each one of these categories are tools that fall under these categories serve a different use case, and they cater to different user personas. So commonality between all the different applications that are in these buckets or in this category is that they all can leverage the BI platform and some of the robustness that the BI platform offers. So some of the, for example, Design Studio can leverage the universes that are part of the BI platform and is able to connect to a wide variety of data sources that you see on the bottom here. In addition, the BI platform also offers content management, security, single sign-on, promotion management, as I mentioned before. These are some of the features that make it an ideal platform for usage with any kind of analytical tools. So putting some products or tools into each one of these categories, you can see on the left-hand side is the reporting category, and that's where Web Intelligence and Crystal Reports come into the picture. And if you move to the right, that's the Agile Visualization category, and that's where SAP Lumira and Analysis Office falls into. And then if you look in the middle, which is where Design Studio comes in, that's the Dashboarding and Applications category. And that's the focus of our discussion today. So looking at the different analytical solutions that you see on the left-hand side here, you can see that we have quite a wide variety of tools that you can choose from in each one of these categories. And one of the feedbacks that we constantly hear from customers is that they really struggle to determine which is the right tool for their use cases. So at SAP, one of the things that we're doing is we're making a conscious effort to sort of combine some of the use cases that you see in the tools on the left-hand side and incorporate them into the tools that you see on the right-hand side of the screen here. In doing so, what we're doing is we're converging the use cases of the tools that are offered on the left with what you see on the right-hand side. So I won't go through every single category here, but I'll just give you an example. For example, in the discovery and analysis category here, We have Lumira and SAP BusinessObjects Explorer as one of the tools that you have available for use. But what we've done is that we've added pretty much all of the Explorer workflows or Explorer use cases in SAP Lumira. So for that data discovery and analysis use case or category, SAP Lumira is definitely the application that you would want to go forward with. Similarly, for Design Studio or for dashboarding and application category, you have a set of 4 tools. You've got Design Studio, you have BusinessObjects Dashboards, or also known as Excelsius. You have Bex Web, and you also have analysis for OLAP. Our go-forward strategy is that we bring all of the use cases that these client tools offer on the left into Design Studio and Design Studio applications directly. I think we're pretty close and from the dashboarding and applications category in terms of bringing those Bex Web use cases into Design Studio, but I think we still have a bit of work to go in bringing the dashboard use cases or the Excelsius use cases into Design Studio, and our product team is doing a lot of work in actually closing that gap in the field and the next releases that are coming. Okay, so when you're working with Design Studio, it's a desktop application, and the desktop application or the client tool is meant to be used by someone in IT. But the idea is that the output of the tool or the application that the IT person will create would be something that would be shared with the lines of business users for consumption. So as an IT person or as a designer of Design Studio applications, I can leverage the standard applications that come with the product, and I can take those out of the box, either deploy them as is, or make some slight modifications to those applications and make them available for end user for consumption. In addition, I can also create custom applications. These are applications that I basically create from scratch in Design Studio, and I can also make those available for my business users for consumption. And then those business users can take those applications that you built or an IT person has built, whether they are standard apps or whether they're custom apps, and they can further personalize them to suit their needs. So some of the things that you can do within these apps is actually create personalized views. So you basically get a view of the application specific for your needs. You can also use some of the templates or some of the standard applications that come with the product to build your own self-service dashboards, and also do a bit of data discovery as well directly using the application. So one of the ways you can share your Design Studio application that's been built by IT is via the BI platform. There are also other platforms that you can share with, one of them being NetWeaver platform as well as the HANA platform. But the focus for the presentation today is definitely going to be the BI platform. So I won't cover deployment on the HANA platform or deployment on the NetWeaver platform. So with the deployment on the BI platform, the designer can create their applications using the desktop or using the Design Studio client, and they can save them in Business Intelligence or save them in BIT. The end user then can go in and open up these Design Studio applications directly from BI Launchpad and view them as well as refresh them. As a designer, when you're creating your applications using the BI platform, you're able to leverage the various connections that are available in the CMC. So if you go into your BI platform and look at the OLAP connections that you have in the CMC, you'll be able to leverage your HANA connection as well as your BW connections that you have created. In addition, the designer can also leverage UNX universes as well. And other things that the BI platform offers is transportation or moving Design Studio applications from one platform or one environment to another environment using the promotion management application. And for deploying or making your Design Studio applications available on BI Mobile, the BI platform is the platform of choice for making that happen. And you can use the SAP BI mobile application that you can download on your Android as well as iOS devices, and open up your Design Studio applications through that SAP BI mobile application on your devices, on your mobile devices. Okay, so let's look at some installation topics of Design Studio. So when you go to the service marketplace and actually look at the installation that's available for Design Studio, you will find two different components. One of them is the Design Studio client, and this is the desktop client that usually someone in IT would have installed on their desktop to build the applications or build the Design Studio application. And then what you also have is the Design Studio BIP add-on. And this is the piece that you would need to install on your BI platform. So wherever you have your BI 4.0 system or 4.1 system running, that's the installation that you will need to download and install on your environment. So there are different versions of the installations available for the BIP add-on. So you have access. Right, so hopefully we won't get that interruption anymore. But what I was saying is, so the BI platform add-on for Design Studio is available in different Linux flavors as well as Windows. So you can download a separate installation for AIX, Linux, as well as Solaris. And we also have a Windows version available for download. And all of these installations are 64-bit installations, while the Design Studio client is available in both 32-bit and 64-bit. But usually if you're looking to build your Design Studio applications, you would want to download the 64-bit version of the client as well. In terms of supported platforms for installation of the Design Studio BI platform add-on, we support BI 4.0 SP8 or higher, but you can also install it on BI 4.1. But keep in mind, when you're installing this on BI 4.0, there are definitely limitations on what you can do with Design Studio. Well, a couple limitations that I know off the top of my head is that in BI 4.0 you're not able to leverage the UNX universes for consumption in Design Studio. Also, if you're using HANA in your environment and you would like to have single sign-on to HANA using SAML authentication, that is also not available in BI 4.0. There are additional limitations that come with different patch levels. So if you're on an older version of BI 4.1 or if you're using BI 4.0, there are some additional limitations that are documented in the supported platforms guide or the PAM. So I would encourage you that you take a look at the PAM before you actually do the installation in your environment to know what some of the limitations are potentially on the patch level that you might be using in your environment. Usually you would want to have the latest patch from available on BI 4.1 when you're installing the Design Studio BIP add-on. So during the installation, when you go and try to install the add-on, you need to have administrative rights on the machine. And you will also be asked during the install to connect to the BIP system. So in order to connect, you need to have credentials available to connect to the BIP system, and you need to have the user ID and password or the password for the default administrator account for the BIP system. Just a few other things to keep in mind. One of the requirements is to have analysis OLAP and MDAS service enabled, MDAS service available in your base BI4 install. And the reason why you need that is when you go into the CMC to manage your OLAP connection, we actually leverage the MDAS service to make that component or make those connections visible or make those connections available for you to either create or modify. So if you're going to be doing that with Design Studio where you'll need to create your OLAP connections in the CMC, your base BI4.x installation needs to have analysis OLAP as one of the options selected during the installation. And that would give you the ability to manage your OLAP connections in the CMC, and it would also give you the MDAS service that you need. Okay, so during the installation, so after you've gone through and ran the setup.exe for the BI platform, and you go through a few screens, you would eventually come to a screen that you see on the slide here. And here you can pick and choose which components you install on your BI system. So if you do a full installation, it would install all 3 components that you see here. But just give you a bit of description on what each one of these components are. So the analysis application web component is a component that makes it possible for you to go and view your analysis applications in the BI Launchpad, and also share open document links so that the end user can interact with the application using open document. This is also the component that's used when the Design Studio client interacts with BI platform for save as well as retrieve workflows as well. In order for you to install the analysis web component on your BI installation, you need to have your base BI 4.x install needs to have the web tier installation selected. And if you're deploying into an environment where you don't have the default Tomcat installation that comes with the BI4 installation, you may need to run wdeploy, which is one of the applications that we have to deploy web applications to an application server. You will need to run that utility to be able to deploy your applications to your whatever application server that you might be using. This is only necessary if you're not using the out-of-the-box Tomcat, or if you have more than 1 Tomcat instances in your environment. So in a nutshell, this analysis application web component is basically your web application, all right? And you would normally install this wherever you have your web application server running. The second component here is the analysis application service, and this is the service that makes it possible to actually run your Design Studio applications in the BI platform. And what it does is it actually installs a service in the adaptive processing server in the BIP platform. So in order for you to actually install this particular component in your BI system, you need to have the APS or the adaptive processing server installed in the base installation of BI 4.x. And the last component is the analysis application support for mobile services, and this is the component that makes it possible for you to expose your Design Studio client or Design Studio applications to the SAP BI mobile application. And again, in order to install this particular component, you need to have the mobile services selected when you did the original install of your BI 4.x system. So if you've done a default installation of BI 4.x, you should not have any problems in installing all 3 of these components onto that machine. Okay, so let's look at some ways you can get your Design Studio applications in the BI platform. So when you launch Design Studio client, you have the option of running in a couple modes. One of them is local mode. And the other one, which I'm going to focus on, is the SAP BusinessObjects BI platform mode. So when you run your Design Studio client or your desktop client in BI platform mode, it gives you a few options, or it lets you do a few things. So what it allows you to do is it allows you to create applications directly in the BI system. So when I go file new and create a new application, I'm able to save that application directly within the folder structure that I have in the BI platform. It also allows me to leverage the OLAP connections as well as universes that I have in the BI platform. If I'm running in local mode, I will not have the ability to use any of the OLAP connections or use universes that I have saved in BIP. I have to be running my Design Studio client in the BI platform mode. It also gives you the ability to execute your BI application or your Design Studio application from the client in BIP mode. And again, if you're just running in local mode, you will not see the option to execute in the BI platform mode. You can, when you're designing your application, any of the style sheets, any of the images that you already have saved in the BI platform, can be leveraged at runtime, or can be leveraged when you're designing your application. But you also have the option to upload images as well as CSS files directly from the Design Studio client, or you can use the CMC to upload agnostic files to a folder in the BI platform, which you can then leverage when you're designing your Design Studio application. Just keep in mind that when you're switching between local mode or the BI platform mode, you will need to restart your Design Studio client. And one thing that you'll notice is when you are running the BI platform mode, when the user first starts the Design Studio client, they will see a screenshot similar to what you see on the bottom right here, or a dialog box that come up where they will need to specify their credentials to log into the BI platform. They would also need to know the web service URL to connect to the BI system. So one of the questions that I get asked quite often by customers is, how do I take something that I've built locally or that I've built through the BI platform and expose it either locally or in the BI platform mode? So for example, if I built an application in local mode, how do I make that application available in BI platform mode? And the way you would do that is in Design Studio Client, you have the option of importing and exporting an application. So if I'm running in BI platform mode and I have an application that's already been created on my desktop and using local mode, I can use this import option to import a zip file essentially, which contains the application as well as any of the resources that application uses, and then save it within my BI platform, and vice versa. So that's what the import and the export option allows me to do in Design Studio, and that's one of the many options that's available. Similarly, you can also export your applications as templates, which you can use as a starting point when you're designing new Design Studio applications. Okay, so mobile support is configured in the BI platform as well. So in order to make your Design Studio application available to SAP BI mobile application, the steps are actually quite straightforward. All you have to do is either through the CMC or through BI Launchpad, you would need to create a mobile category, and then you basically right-click on your Design Studio application and you assign it to the mobile category. And once you do that, you're able to go into your mobile device, launch your BI mobile application, and actually access your Design Studio application directly from BI Mobile. Other option that you can also leverage is to go through the browser directly. So if you're using an iPad, for example, you can launch the Safari browser, and as long as you can access the BI Launchpad from your Safari browser running on your mobile device, you can access the folder structure and open up your Design Studio applications directly through the browser, and not necessarily having to use the BI mobile application. Right, so getting extensions into Design Studio. So Design Studio has the flexibility to install extensions. So what extensions are essentially additional functionality that is not available out of the box with the product. So for example, if you're looking for a particular chart or a particular way to access a data source that's not currently available in Design Studio, you can install extensions in Design Studio. And in order for you to leverage those extensions in the BI platform, you also need to install those extensions in BIP as well. And the Design Studio client has options for you to be able to install those extensions to BIP platform. I will do a demo of this in a little while here so you can see this firsthand. Just keep in mind when you do install an extension or remove an extension from the BI platform, you will need to restart your adaptive processing server, and this would be the adaptive processing server that is hosting your analysis application services. And in order to publish your extensions or in order to install your extensions to the BI platform, the user that's connected in the Design Studio client needs to be either an administrator or be a member of the Design Studio administrators group. Yep. And just multi-language support. So one of the things that you can do with your application that's sitting in the BI platform mode is that you can make the language or make that application basically multilingual. So you can support more different languages in the Design Studio application. And the way we support we make the multilingual support available is by basically adding a text pool component in your Design Studio app during design time. And if you have that text pool component added to your Design Studio application, any components that have a text field attached in your application can then be translated into a different language. So for example, if I have a button or if I have a label that's got an English text on it, I can then translate that text into German or French or what have you. And the way I can do that with BIP is I can use the translation management tool, which is one of the client applications that's available when you install the BIP clients. And it gives you the option to connect to your Design Studio or import your Design Studio application into the tool. It will give you a listing of all the components that can be translated or all the text that can be translated, and then you can use the translation management tool to actually translate those texts. And next time, or when you run your Design Studio application through BI Launchpad, if your preference is set to, say, Germany, you'll actually see your Design Studio application in German format instead of English, for example. And I will do a demo of this as well. Just keep in mind, in order to use this feature, or in order to use translation management with Design Studio application, you need to be on BI 4.1 SP6 or higher. So that's just going back to my point earlier about using the supported platform guide or using the PAM to really reference or know what support pack you're running and what some of the limitations might be of that support pack. So for example, if you're running SP5 or SP4 or 4.1, you will not have access to translate your Design Studio applications using the translation management tool. Okay, so I'm actually going to switch to a bit of a demo here, and we'll see how well this goes. This is going to be a live demo. If things don't work out, then we might have to skip. All right, so here I have a Design Studio screen. So when you first launch Design Studio, that when you're running in BI platform mode, you will be asked to connect to or provide credentials to the BIP system, which is what I have here. So I'll just enter in the credentials to my BIP. As a designer or as an application designer that's using the client, you would need to know what this web service URL is as well. In this case, I'm using localhost 8080 because my BI platform as well as my Tomcat that I'm using is running locally on this machine. But that would normally not be the case if you're connecting from your laptop and you're using the Design Studio client there. This would normally be a URL that you would normally use to access like your BI Launchpad. Okay, so I click OK here. So once the application launches, I have an option of before I go into creating new applications, I'll just show you some of the options under this preference menu. So if you want to switch the mode that you're using from BI platform to local mode, you would basically just go in here and change it. And again, remember that you would have to restart your Design Studio application after making the change. So because I'm running in the BI platform mode, when I go and expand this application design and look at my backend connections, what I'm looking at here are all the different connections that have been defined in my BI platform. So this is not pulling anything from my local connection. So if I have any connection defined in my SAP GUI, those will not be visible here. These are all connections coming from a BI platform. So I have a connection to an R79 system, which is a BW system, as well as a V73 BW system. And you can see my HANA connections and all the universes that I have available to me for use with Design Studio. Okay, so let's go in and create a application here. So To create a new application, you just go Application New, and you can pick the browser or pick the folder that you would like to save that application in. And I'm just going to save it under the webinar folder here, and just give it a name, demo, generic analysis, because I'm going to use the generic analysis template here. All right, so click next. So when you click next on the previous screen, you're presented with a wide variety of default applications or templates that you can use. And these are essentially applications that you can use out of the box without really having to do a lot of coding. For example, this generic analysis template is one template that's got quite a array of features that you can leverage. So let me just select that template and click Finish. So while this is loading, there are additional templates that are available in Design Studio that you can leverage, and I'll kind of touch on some of them, but I won't go through every single one here. So as soon as I load this application, without actually having to write a single piece of code, I can run this application as is in the BI platform. And once this comes up, what I'll be prompted for is connections to pick a connection that I have in my BI platform. So I can pick my BW connection, or I can pick my HANA connection. So I'll pick my BW connection here. Search for a query that I have in my BW system. And once you select your query, you're presented with basically an application that you can use to do your own data discovery. So, and at runtime, I have the option of choosing which data source I'm connected to as well. So I can switch data sources between in my application directly. So all of these features or all of this functionality that you see on the screen here is available without actually having to write a single piece of code. So what I can do as a Design Studio as a person that's designing application, I can either modify this default Design Studio template, or I can publish this as is in my BI platform, or save it in my BI platform. And when the user goes into BI Launchpad and opens it up, they will get exactly the same behavior, where they'll be able to select the different connections that they have access to, and actually utilize it to do their own data discovery. So some of the other features in here is I can actually switch to view this in a chart format. I can also change the type of charts that I have in here. So if I wanted to turn this into a line chart, I can do that. I can swap the axis if I wanted to. So there's quite a few features available in here directly within the application that you can leverage out of the box without having to write a single piece of code. There's also ability to switch to a cross-table view as well as a chart view. So that's just one of the templates that I've shown you. I can show you another one here. So I will actually launch the second template directly in my BIP system. So I've published, basically what I've done is I've taken few of those templates that you see, and I've published them to the BIP platform. So here's the generic analysis template. So if I were to launch this, I would see the same thing that I just showed you when I launched it directly from the client. So again, the user will be able to select a data source and do a bit of data discovery. There is also this data discovery template here as well, which is, again, lets me pick a connection that I want to use. So I'll, again, select my BW connection, search for a query. And when this runs, you'll see that the look and feel of this template it's kind of similar to what you get with Lumira. So you have the visualize room, you have the compose room, and in here I can actually add additional visualization. So if I wanted to have this as a column chart, for example, I have now basically two visualizations in my visualize room. I can go into the compose room as well and create a little bit of a storyboard, if you will. So again, all this visualization or this data discovery and visualization template is also a default template that's available in Design Studio, and all the designer has to do is basically just make this available in the basically just publish it to the BI platform. So now I can kind of build a storyboard with both my cross table as well as my chart on this template. So that's the data discovery template. So I'm not going to go through every single template that are in the BI platform because there's quite a few, and it would probably take us the full time just to kind of go through them. So I'm going to just go through this quickly here. All right. So one of the other things that I wanted to show you was the translation management tool. So let me launch the translation management tool as well. As I mentioned before, it's one of the client applications that's available. So if you have the BusinessObjects client tools installed, you can use the translation management tool. And they will again ask you to connect to your BIP system. And once you're connected, you can connect to the system repository. So this is connecting to your BIP. And you can pick the applications that you have there to translate. So in this case, I have this application called Translate. So I'm going to add it to my document that I would like to translate. And if I click Finish, I see all the different text that are on that application. And I can then translate those texts into different language. And what I've done is I've already translated them into German. So I didn't know the German translation. So the way I say that this is German is I just add a prefix DE to the end of that text. But normally you would actually translate it into an actual German language. So if I wanted to translate to another language, all I have to do is basically pick from a list of languages here. So maybe I pick French Canada here. I add that here, then I can go in and then basically do the translation for French here as well. But since I've already done the translation, I'm not going to do anything here. So what I'll show you is I'll actually run this application in the BI platform mode, so you can actually see the differences between what happens when you launch using the preferences with French versus rather Germany versus English. So in BI Launchpad, I can change my preferences. So before I do that, let me actually run that application in English mode here. So let me open up this translation application. Let's open it up. And you can see that all the text or the labels are all in English, right? So if I were to change my preferences in my BI Launchpad and change my locale to, instead of English United States, maybe I put Germany, save and close. When I reload this page and I go back to the same folder where I had that application, I should see my the application name show up in German. So if this was actually translated to proper German, you would see the German name for this. And when I launch this application as well, you can see that all the text or all the labels have been translated into Germany as well. So, and if I click on it, even the text that I do or assign at runtime are also translated in German. And the way you can do that in your Design Studio application is if you open up, if I open up my application here, so I have this text pool component here at the bottom. And in the text pool component, you can define additional keys and values. You can define key and value pairs here. So I'm saying that when I click on this particular button here, I want to change the text of that button to new button. So in order for that text to be exposed to the translation management tool, I have to define that text somewhere. So that's what you can use this text pool component for. So you can actually define any text that you would be setting for any of the components at runtime. You can make it available in this text pool, and then the translation management tool would pick it up, and then you can translate those texts that you would set at runtime into different languages as well. Okay, so I'm going to move back to my presentation. Let me just make sure I covered everything that I wanted to cover for this demo. Just very quickly, I'll show you how you can add your applications to the mobile category as well. So if I just look at my application here, and if I wanted to add this to, if I wanted to make this application available to my mobile device or mobile BI application, I would just simply assign it to the mobile category. And by default, this mobile category does not exist in the BI platform. You actually have to create it by going into this categories option here, and you can then create new categories from the menu option at the top here. Okay, so I've created the mobile category already, and I was just assigning my application to mobile to make it available on the BI mobile application. Okay, so I'm going to quickly move through here because I'm kind of running behind time here. Okay. So the next topic that I wanted to talk about was some administration topics. So what I'm probably going to do is actually skip the demo for this because I think we won't have enough time to cover every single topic. So, and in the administration topic, we're going to talk about bookmarks administration as well as promotion management. Let me put this in presentation mode. All right, so when you're working with bookmarks in Design Studio, there's three different types of bookmarks that are available. The first one that you see on the left are your standard bookmarks, and these are bookmarks that are basically saving the entire state of your application. So when you create a standard bookmark from your Design Studio app, you're basically saving the entire state of that application. And those bookmarks are also dependent on the user, the application, as well as the version of the application. So if you go in and then make a modification to your application after someone's created the bookmark, those bookmarks or personalizations basically become obsolete. So that's one of the things that you have to be careful about when you're using standard bookmarks, is that if you go in and then modify your Design Studio application and then publish it back to the BI platform, any bookmarks that the user may have created on the previous version of that Design Studio application would be obsolete, and you will not even see those bookmarks when you try to select them from within your application. The second option is a fragment bookmarks. These are not dependent on application version. So fragment bookmarks are where you're not necessarily saving the entire application, but you're saving a specific section or a specific component within your application. So for example, you have a panel with some cross table or a chart, and you want to save that as a bookmark, you can create what's called a fragment bookmark. And again, if your application changes in the background, these fragment bookmarks do not become obsolete. And then the last option is the portable fragment bookmarks. These are also kind of similar to fragment bookmarks, but essentially you can use the portable fragment bookmarks in other applications. So one of the templates that we provide out of the box with Design Studio is the online composition template. So any portable fragments that you create from another application, whether it's using the generic analysis template or using the ad hoc analysis template, you can create those portable fragment bookmarks, and then you can leverage the online composition template to create more of a personalized dashboard using these different fragments that have been created from different applications. Right? So and I was going to demo this, but I don't think we're going to have enough time. But if you like to see this functionality, you can look at the webinar that one of my colleagues did a couple weeks ago on bookmarks, as well as using the online composition to view those bookmarks. If you wanted to build your own application and not use the online composition template, you can also, there are certain components that are available in your Design Studio in your client that you can drag and drop, and that would basically make it available for you to select from these fragments that have been created from different applications, and allow the user to kind of create their own customized dashboard, if you will. So when you create these bookmarks, they have to be stored somewhere, and these are actually stored within the BI platform. So you can, if you're running in the BI platform mode, So we have a centralized administration option for you to actually view your bookmarks that have been created. So if you were to go into the CMC and go into applications, you will see the Design Studio runtime application there. You can right-click on that application and look at all the different bookmarks that have been created. You can also create folders within that Design Studio runtime application and assign these bookmarks to specific folders. So that's just giving the flexibility to the end user or to the administrator to actually manage some of the bookmarks that are being created by the end users using their Design Studio applications. So this Design Studio, or this bookmark administration page that you see here is can support application bookmarks. It can support fragment bookmarks as well as portable fragment bookmarks. So you'll see them all listed here. And like I mentioned, you can actually organize them into individual folders as well. And as an administrator, you also have the option of deleting these bookmarks from that page directly. And then there's quite a wide variety of search fields, which is it's kind of hard to see, but there's a wide variety of search fields at the top here. So you can search for a particular set of bookmarks that you might be interested in. So if you're looking for bookmarks in a specific folder, you can put that folder name in, and then you'll see all the bookmarks for that folder. You can also look at bookmarks created by a particular user, bookmarks that are based on that are using a particular data source or a query. So there's quite a wide variety of search options that are available for you to, as an administrator, to see where those bookmarks are coming from. All right, so I am going to talk about promotion management next here. So promotion management, like I said, is a tool that you would use when you're moving your Design Studio applications from one environment to another environment. So for example, if you have a dev environment where you do all your development and you want to now move your Design Studio application into your test environment, you would use the promotion management tool that's embedded within the BI platform to be able to make that move happen. So the idea is when you're doing these, doing these movements, you want to preserve the unique relationships that the Design Studio applications have with some of the components that they're dependent on, right? So whether that's universes, whether that's the OLAP connections that you have in the BI platform, we want to make sure that during the movement, those OLAP connections relationships are maintained. Right? So when you launch the promotion management tool and you add your Design Studio application, you have the option of adding all the different components that the Design Studio application is dependent on. Okay? So if your Design Studio application is in a particular folder, if it's using any images or any custom style sheets, you have the option of adding that when you move your Design Studio application. Usually the best practice is for images and style sheet is that you would have basically sort of one root level folder which would have all your images and all your style sheets that you're planning to use for all of your applications within the BI platform. And then you only have to really move that folder once, and you don't necessarily have to move all of your style sheets and images every single time you run your promotion job to move your Design Studio application. Just keep in mind when you do the promotion, there is no auto dependency management. So the promotion management tool will not tell you that this tool, this Design Studio application is using this CSS or it's using this image, or it's using this OLAP connection or this universe. You actually have to go and manually select the dependencies that that particular Design Studio application is dependent on during your promotion. And once you've done your promotion, any of the OLAP connections or when you move your universes, any of the connections that are being used in the background, you may have to modify those connections in the destination environment to point to the other data sources that you might be using in those new environments. So for example, if I move from my dev environment to a test environment, the OLAP connection in my dev environment may be pointing to my dev database, but in my test environment, I want that connection to point to my test database. Then I would have to make that change happen either manually in my destination environment or I can use the connection overrides that's a feature of the promotion management to automatically make that association happen. So you can look at the promotion management documentation for additional information on how those connection overrides work. Just last word about promotion management is extensions. If you're using extensions in your Design Studio application and you've installed those extensions in the BI platform, right now the only way you can get those extensions if you're moving your application from one environment to another is to actually go back into the Design Studio tool into the client application and connect to that other environment and install the extension to that new BI system where you might have moved that application to. Right, so the extensions are not part of the promotion management. You would have to do that manually through the client tool. Right, so I was supposed to do a demo of this, but I think we're running behind on time, so I am going to skip this and quickly move on to some of the configuration and performance topics. So some of the things that you can do within the Design Studio runtime is actually, so when you go into the central management console of the BI platform, if you go into CMC and go to applications, you can right click on Design Studio runtime, and you can assign security to who has access to use the Design Studio application. So if you don't have rights assigned on the runtime, the users will not be able to run their Design Studio applications through the BI platform. So whoever's going to be using the application needs to have rights to that runtime. Other things that you can also configure are these open document URL settings. This is again a setting in the CMC. So if you go into applications and go to the open document settings, you would want to change the open document URL that's being used, that's been defined there. And usually by default, this would be pointing to wherever your application server is. But if you're using some sort of a proxy server or a load balancer in front, this URL may not be pointing. This URL may need to be updated to point to that the load balancer URL rather than just going directly to the individual application servers. And with Design Studio 1.5, you have the option of connecting to HANA in HTTP mode, and by default, this HTTP connection option is not available in the central management console. So if you are looking to connect to HANA in HTTP mode, you need to actually go in and set this this property that you see here that's highlighted to true in the m-properties file, and this file is available on the BI platform as well. So if you search for m-properties under the BI installation, you can actually open this file up and then change this flag to true. So very important is when you do your installation of the Design Studio BI platform, what you get is this analysis application service, which is what's used for rendering the Design Studio applications or for running the Design Studio applications. And you really need to be following some best practices on how you split up your adaptive processing server and potentially just having your analysis application service running on its own APS container. By default, it's going to be sharing the adaptive processing server with a bunch of other services that are also hosted on the APS. So what you should be doing is creating new APSs using from the central management console and just having the analysis application service as the only service that's in that APS. Then you can go and tweak the settings on that APS by you can increase the heap settings. So that would basically control how much Java memory or Java heap space is allocated to that APS. And if you're going to be using Design Studio pretty heavily in the BI platform, not only do you have to just create an APS just hosting the analysis application service, you may also have to go in and tweak the XMX setting to a higher value. So for example, this is set to 2 gigs right now. You can go as high as 8, 16, or even more depending on how much memory you have available on that system. And let's go back a bit. So if you have a need for load balancing or failover, you can have this analysis application service running on more than one APS on different nodes within the BI platform. Also beware that if you're using universes, the connection servers are actually also used. So it's not just the analysis application service that runs or renders that Design Studio app. So if you're using universes, you can, if you're depending on what kind of data source that universe is based on, you can either use the adaptive connectivity service, or you can use the connection servers that are within the BI platform to basically fetch data from the database for that Design Studio application. So you may need to go in and then either have multiples of these services or also size these services using the BI4 platform sizing guide to make sure you have plenty of resources available on those particular processing servers that are required. Some of the parameters you can configure on an analysis application service is the max client session. So this parameter essentially controls how many users or how many Design Studio applications can be open on, say, a single analysis application service. So by default, you can pretty much have 15. So I can open up 15 Design Studio applications if I have a single analysis application service instance. And so if you can increase that parameter, or you can decrease that depending upon how heavily or how big your Design Studio applications are. And just keep in mind that if you increase this parameter to a higher value, it's going to require a bigger memory footprint for that analysis application service. So you would definitely need to tweak this this XMX setting on that APS. Max number of cells, and this parameter essentially controls how many cells you can bring back to the Design Studio application. Again, this is something you can probably don't want to set too high. The idea of Design Studio is to have more of an aggregated dashboard, if you will. So it's not really meant as a reporting solution, so you shouldn't be pulling back a large amount of data from your backend systems. So these are some of the parameters you can configure. So this max number of cells should be less than or equal to the safety belts that you may have defined in your BW system, for example. So by default, it's what is it, 500,000 cells. So if your safety belts in the backend BW system are set to less than that, you should go in and modify this max number of cells to a lower value as well. A few additional settings. This Tomcat compression setting. So this is if you go to the default Tomcat that comes with the BI platform and open up the server.xml file, you need to add this application JavaScript as a MIME type to the connector setting, and this is not there by default. And if you add this and restart your Tomcat application server, it should help improve the performance of the initial load time of the application, because the content that's being transferred from the app server to the client is actually compressed, so that it will take shorter time to move it, and then you can view it on the browser faster. A few other things, parameters that I wanted to touch on is this max parallel query session parameter. This is set to default of 500. So with Design Studio, as a designer, I can control how many applications or how many queries I run in parallel. And I do that by assigning processing groups in my Design Studio application. So as an administrator, I have the option of basically disabling parallel query processing if I want to. So if I set this parameter to 0, I would basically disable parallel queries in the BI platform, irrespective of what the designer may have done in the Design Studio application. So the default for this is 500. So basically, when you run a lot of parallel queries, what you're doing is you're creating sessions in the backend BW system. You're also tying up threads in the APS as well, or the Java runtime environment that we use. So you got to be careful about how high this parameter is set to, because it takes up resources both on the backend BW system as well as on the BI platform. So as an administrator, you have the option of controlling how many threads are available. And in order to do this, you simply have to just add this parameter here that you see to the command line of the APS that's hosting the analysis application service. So you can add that to the end of that the APS. And I think we're pretty much over time here anyway, so I'm going to just leave you with some resources here that you can access to get some additional information. So if you're looking for some performance tips and tricks, there are articles on SCN on how you can design your applications for optimal performance. There's also some sizing information on how you would size your Design Studio application, and also additional information about where you can get access to PAM and so on. And I think I'll stop here and maybe answer some questions that are already posted.
Thank you, Harjeet. I do believe that Sushma has been able to answer all of the questions. Sushma, unless there's anything unanswered, but I think following the discussions, everything is answered. There's a question asked a second time on the bottom: when will the release 1.6 be released? As you know, we can't make clear commitments because until the very end, until it is released, something might be going wrong. But as Sushma pointed out earlier in the chat room, we are targeting an early December release, so it's just around the block if you want. Sushma, and I can unmute you in case you want to answer anything voice. Or...
Yeah. Hi, Anne.
Hey.
Hey, Harjeet. Yeah, I think there are two technical questions. Probably Harjeet would be able to take those, like the installation kind of questions. So the first one is from Banu. He's asking, is SSO supported in Design Studio client like Windows AD or SAP, kind of an authentication?
Yeah, you can definitely have Windows AD authentication enabled in the Design Studio client. There is an SAP note available on how to configure that. There are some caveats to getting it working, and if you go to the service marketplace and just search for KBases, you'll find an SAP note. I don't have the number handy, but it does talk about how you would go in and configure that.
So, thanks, Harjeet. And if
you're,
one more question.
I was just going to say, if you're doing SSO to the actual backend data source, so for BW, you will need to have SNC configured on the client to be able to do single sign-on to backend BW.
Okay, yeah. Thanks, Harjeet. So the next question is, if I'm using Design Studio to connect to SAP HANA and the reports are published on SAP portal for end user access, authentication between SAP portal and BIP is via SAP logon tickets. Does that logon tickets flow to the SAP HANA as well?
I am not sure of that, but I know you can do single sign-on. You can do Kerberos single sign-on as well as SAML single sign-on to HANA. So if you're accessing from a NetViewer portal, if you can somehow configure or pass Kerberos authentication or pass SAML credentials or a SAML ticket to the backend BIP system, you should be able to do single sign-on to the HANA system as well. But I'm not sure about how that would work with integration with the NetViewer portal.
Okay, yeah, thanks, Harjeet. And one more question. In a distributed and clustered environment where you have app servers in 2 or more server boxes and 1 or more web servers with Tomcat, do you need to install the Design Studio add-on only in the app servers or in the web servers as well, and which options to use?
Yeah, so for installing on the web servers where you have, so I assume by application servers we're talking about, where your processing servers for BI are, and then when you talk about web servers, we're talking about the Tomcat application server. So I'm assuming that's what you mean by the question. So if you're talking about, your Tomcat web server or Tomcat application server, you would need to install the web component wherever you have that, and that would basically give you all the web layer components that you need to be able to render your Design Studio application through BI Launchpad. So you would only need to select the very first component, which is the web application component. on the machines where you have your processing servers running, you can pick and choose. You can install the Design Studio, the second option, which was the analysis application service. So you will need to have that running on those machines.
Okay, yeah. Thanks, Harjeet. So I think, yeah, those are the ones which were left behind. I think there are some new ones in the chat window, but otherwise the rest of them we kind of covered it. Myself, Tammy, yeah, we were able to cover most of them. I think there are some new ones. Some Shashank, Chaitanya. Okay.
So there's a question from Chaitanya about, so only 80 users or LDAP users can also be integrated. Yeah, so I assume that's referring back to the client, integrating from client. There is a way to configure, so yeah, you can do LDAP authentication to the BI path. You can do LDAP authentication, or you can configure LDAP authentication in the BIP system. Whether or not you can do single sign-up using like a LDAP credentials, I am not sure of that, but you can definitely do AD Kerberos authentication.
Yeah, and regarding the broadcasting feature, it is there in the roadmap, so probably in our next release, not in 1.6, but probably the next release after that, probably we'll have broadcasting feature.
Yeah, that's one of the roadmap items that's on our backlog. So at this point, we don't have it in the product at this point.
Guest 4, is it now possible to refresh the data of an UNX DS at runtime of a Design Studio application?
I was trying that yesterday, actually, trying to get that work. So it's I tried in 1.5 and I wasn't able to get the refresh to happen at runtime. So it was basically showing me whatever I had when I created the Design Studio application, whatever data was in there at that point.
Chaitanya, I'm not sure if we have any tool to migrate any migration tool available to migrate web application designer apps to Design Studio. I don't think so. We have any.
No, we don't have any migration options there. You would have to basically build those Design Studio apps from scratch.
Okay.
About BOM. So I know there's quite a few other questions that we may have missed here. I'm seeing a few already in the chat window. So I'm going to put my email address in the chat window. So if anyone needs to get their questions answered, you can email me directly, and I'll try my best to get back to you.
Sushma, thank you very much for joining the call and answering. And Tammy, I'm not sure if you're still on the call. Thank you very much for answering a lot of the questions in the chat as well. Thanks everyone again for joining the call. It was a pleasure having you. Harjeet, thanks for an excellent presentation. I think there went a lot of work into this, so really appreciate that. And Sushma, thanks again for being on the call to help Harjeet with the questions.